You are a Roman citizen living around the year 100 AD, when the Roman Empire was near its height. You've just woken up in your home called an insulae, meaning island, since apartment complexes in Rome made up whole blocks, with the streets surrounding them like water. Specifically, you live in the Insula dell'Ara Coeli, a 5-story apartment building that could house around 400 people. Unfortunately, for most residents, Roman insulae were not a good example of Rome's pristine craftsmanship, and were poorly built due to the rapid necessity for housing because of Rome's ever-increasing population. The street-level floors are comprised of portico arches, where shops would reside, and the respective shopkeepers would live on the floor above, called the ground floor. Luckily, you are a middle-class family member, so you live on the floor above this one, known as the first floor, in rooms called canacula, which were more desirable since they were safer, more spacious, and more accessible than the ones above. Poorer citizens would live on the top floors in rooms called cellae, which doesn't seem to require a translation. Cellae were cramped rooms that collapsed easily and were a serious fire hazard. Usually, you would be going to work soon on your farm, but today is a Roman holiday and work is prohibited, so there is much to do during the day. Our first stop is the Roman Forum, built around 700 BC, which is set in the center of Rome between the Palatine and Capitoline hills. The Forum is one of the more popular locations in Rome, with frequent buzzing activity. Because of its diverse uses, including elections, trials, public meetings and speeches, religious ceremonies, and commercial activities, it serves as a center for Roman life. Many different buildings and monuments occupy the space in the Roman Forum, one of which is the Senate House, or Curia. The Senate House was a place of political meetings, where Roman political figures would gather to discuss laws and policies. Several temples inhabit the space as well, including the Temple of Saturn, which served as not only a place of worship for Saturn, the god of agriculture, but also as a treasury for Rome's riches. The other two temples are the Temple of Vesta, for the goddess of hearth, home, and family, and the Temple of Castor and Pollux, the Roman twin demigods, also known as the Gemini twins. Notably, all of these temples have columns, classic to Roman architecture, and most are believed to have been rectangular in shape, except for the Temple of Vesta, which is a circular shape. You weren't here on a political or religious agenda, however. You were here for the market. Another function of the Roman Forum is the open-air marketplace that resides within it, where many exchanges and trades happen. After browsing, it's time to take the Sarcoia, the main road within the Roman Forum, that happens to also connect to the Colosseum. You have just arrived at the Colosseum, and the place is already packed. The Colosseum was built around 70 AD, and the full construction was finished 12 years later in 82 AD. The giant amphitheater was a gift to the Roman people from the Emperor Vespasian. The structure is a Roman architectural marvel and is impressively a free-standing amphitheater, uncommon for buildings like it at the time, which usually were built into the sides of hills. It is primarily made of stone and concrete, using an advanced building technique called vaults to allow for optimal support. The theater's facade has 3 levels of arches with Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian-style columns. Another unique detail was that the theater had a retractable awning system called the velarium, which protected the audience from the harsh sun. The amphitheater holds approximately 50,000 people, and the seating arrangement is an example of Rome's firm social hierarchy. The emperor and Rome's elite sat in the front rows for the best view, while the senators and wealthy Roman citizens sat in sections slightly higher up. The middle rows were for the middle class, where you are seated today. The top seats were occupied by lower class citizens, women, and slaves. However, despite where they were seated in the Colosseum, citizens were always eager to see what events would be going on. Today is an exciting day to be in attendance at the Colosseum, as Emperor Trajan has decided to put on various gladiatorial and animal fights for your entertainment. After a little while, you decide to leave, not because the events are by any means not engaging, but because you heard another sports spectacle was taking place today at the Circus Maximus. You are just outside the Circus Maximus, and you swear you can still hear the roaring crowd and clanging swords and armor from the Colosseum. But as you step into the arena, you are welcomed with this unmatched energy, and you're wondering why you didn't come here first. The Circus Maximus is Rome's largest and oldest chariot racing stadium, made in the 6th century BC, while significant constructions were made under the rule of Julius Caesar centuries after. Due to multiple fires damaging the stadium, Emperor Trajan was the last to make significant reconstructions, and under his rule, the arena had a capacity of 250,000 viewers, 100,000 more than the previous version. It's set in the valley between the Palatine and Aventine Hills, an ideal location for a venue of its scale. Being one of the largest sports venues in history, it is 600 meters long and 140 meters wide. While its design may seem simpler than that of the Colosseum, it is equally, if not more, impressive, with the track extending 540 meters long and 80 meters wide, where 12 starting gates called carceres were in place at the far open end of the track. The arena is a long oval shape, with a central divider called the spina, which was decorated with obelisks and statues. These decorations served as markers for the chariot racers and visual displays for the audience. Like the Colosseum, the seating at the Circus Maximus reflects Rome's social order. The emperor had a private box called the pulvinar, which had the best view of the track, while senators and wealthy citizens sat in the lower tiers. You are set slightly higher up, and above you are the lower class citizens and slaves, sat on tiers made of wood. Today, a thrilling race is taking place, with the teams separated by colors, red, blue, white, and green. You are a noble fan of the green team, which is a promising underdog in this race, whereas the blue team has made a name for themselves with a 50 consecutive win streak. If you weren't such a responsible citizen, you might be betting on this race like many other fans. The roar of the crowd becomes deafening as the chariots take off at incredible speeds, skillfully cutting corners led by horses galloping with unimaginable power. The dust has settled, and you see that the green team has won and has ended the blue team's streak. With this exciting victory, you decide you'll celebrate at the Baths of Caracalla, mainly because the last few hours have drained you, and you need a place to relax. Once you arrive and step inside, the scale and luxury are breathtaking. The Baths of Caracalla were one of the most grand public bath complexes in Rome. They were built under the rule of Emperor Caracalla around 212 AD and were completed 4 years later. The baths were more than a place to get clean. They were a social and cultural hub where Romans gathered for relaxation and exercise. The structure covers around 27 acres of land, capable of hosting up to 1,600 people at a time. Bathing was an essential part of Roman life, and the baths, being one location where social hierarchy was much looser, were made free to the public so that everyone could satisfy their needs. The structure is comprised of a combination of brick-faced concrete and marble and was once decorated with colorful mosaics and stucco work, the glistening reflection of the bathwater sparkling on the ceilings and walls. The vast bathhouse has multiple areas within it, each serving a specific purpose. Typically, visitors would start in the palaestra. In this open courtyard, they could exercise or play ball games before going into the bathing areas. But you are tired from walking, so you decide to go straight into the caldarium. The main bathhouse was divided into 3 sections. The caldarium, the hot room, heated by an advanced underground heating system called the hypocaust. The tepidarium, a warm room for a more gentle environment. And the frigidarium, a cold plunge room to get energized and rejuvenated. In addition to these, there were also steam rooms, private baths, and open-air swimming pools. The Baths of Caracalla functioned as not only a place to take a dip, but also a place for social and intellectual activities, with libraries and gardens. but for now, the hot bath will do for you. The sun has begun to set, and you want to make sure you have enough time to get to your last location before you return home. On your way, you pass by the Casa di Livia, the elegant home of Livia Drusilla, the wife of Emperor Augustus, and feel the need to stop and admire it. Located on the Palatine Hill, this domus, or elite Roman house, offers a glimpse into the private life of Rome's most powerful family during the early imperial period. The building was built in the 1st century BC. It reflects its owner's exceptional taste and wealth while maintaining the Roman ideals of modesty and tradition. From the outside, the domus appears humble compared to the grand temples and public buildings of Rome. However, once you step inside, the elaborate design and artistic details reveal the luxurious lifestyle of its inhabitants. The layout follows the traditional structure of a Roman domus, centered around the atrium, a large open-air space within the house that served as the heart of the home. Beyond the atrium is the tablinum, a private area used for important meetings, and a series of smaller rooms, including bedrooms called cubicula and dining rooms called triclinia. One of the most alluring features of Casa di Olivia are the stunning paintings, which depict scenes of nature, mythological figures, and architectural illusions. As you continue to gaze at the beautiful domus, you imagine yourself living in it, eating lavish dinners, and romanticizing life in your atrium. However, you remember that you still have one more stop to go to. You are finally at your last stop of the day, although it is one you want to savor: the Pantheon. Originally built in 27 BC by Marcus Agrippa as a temple to all the Roman gods, the structure was rebuilt by Emperor Hadrian around 125 AD, after the original building was destroyed in a fire. Its name, Pan meaning all, and Theos meaning gods, hints at its greater purpose, a place to honor the divine forces. As you step closer, you're met by its massive portico, supported by 16 towering Corinthian columns made of Egyptian granite, each impossibly heavy. Above the entrance, the inscription on the frieze credits Agrippa for its original construction, reading M. Agrippa L. F. Cos Tertium Fecit, meaning Marcus Agrippa, son of Lucius, during his 3rd consulship, built this. Despite Agrippa's name being on display, it was Hadrian that gave the Pantheon its enduring form. Once you step inside, you are amazed by its otherworldly scale and architecture. The interior possesses the prominent detail of the dome, a marvel of Roman architecture and engineering. Measuring 43 meters in diameter and height, the dome was the largest of its kind and remains one of the largest unreinforced concrete domes. At its center is the oculus, a circular opening nearly 10 meters wide, which allows natural light to illuminate the space below and, most importantly, connects the Pantheon to the heavens, reinforcing its purpose as a sacred space. To account for rainwater, the floor of the Pantheon slopes slightly inward to drain water that enters through the oculus. The detailed marble patterns on the floor and walls reflects the pure talent and taste of Roman craftsmen. Evidently, the Pantheon wasn't just a temple. It was also a demonstration of Roman power and innovation. The dome was constructed using a combination of materials, using heavy stones and basalt at the base, and lighter pumice near the top to ensure strength and durability. As you stand in the center of the Pantheon, you take a moment to reflect on the day and become inspired by something greater than yourself.